Dear participants, welcome to the last session, today's last session on stress management. So this will be the ideal session, I think, because from morning we have around 4.5 hours sessions are there. And today we have with us Dr. Bhavana. She is not new to CIT. She is associated in many events. So thanks a lot, ma'am. To introduce Dr. Bhavana, we have with us Professor Suhas Casey from the Department of CAC. Suhas, sir.
It's my privilege to welcome today's speaker, Dr. Bhavana Prasad. Ma'am is dedicated and compassionate doctor specializing in neuropsychiatry with a work experience of 8 years in the field of psychiatry. Ma'am had great opportunity to work at prestigious medical college, St. John's Hospital in the Department of Child Psychiatry for 1 year. And she has been trained in diagnosis and treating various mental illness like depression, anxiety, OCD, alcohol, and other illicit drug abuse, personality disorder, and childhood psychological problems. Along with all these things, she has had a passion for community psychiatry. She has been conducted around 50 various awareness programs across different sectors like primary doctors, teachers, lawyers, Anganwadi workers, women self-help groups in the last 1 year. She also conducted n number of awareness about mental healthness and to decrease social stigma attached to it. Ma'am also have been regularly conducting sessions for students at various schools and colleges all over Karnataka. This session mainly focus on stress management, personality development, and other things. Ma'am have been recognized and felicitated by Rotary Innoville Organization Tumkur for her work. Ma'am, she is currently working as assistant professor at Sridevi Medical Science and Research Institute, and also she is joint secretary of Indian Medical Association for the current year 2021 and 22. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and giving a speech on stress management. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Suhas. And thanks a lot. I know, I have already come to CIT and I am very glad to be a part of this program. And I don't want to delay much. So let us start today's topic, which is about stress management. And stress is something which we all of us, being a human being or any living organism in that matter, we all face stress. Okay. So today is all about we cannot avoid stress or any kind of stressors in our life because that's how our life is. Okay, so I cannot say anybody that don't get stressed because our kind of work, our responsibilities, our job, they all need some amount of stress in our life. So but definitely we all must learn how to manage that stress. So to that, what are the objectives of today's session? By the end of this 1 hour, at least you should be able to understand, first of all, why do we need this topic? Why do any one of us have to know about stress management? And what exactly you mean by stress? And is stress always bad, or is there something called as good stress also? What are the sources of stress? How to identify, this is very important. Most of us don't know that are we going through any kind of stress, how to identify that we are going through stress, and if at all we don't take care of that stress, it becomes a chronic stress, and what are the consequences of that chronic stress, and finally stress management techniques. So I told you why do we need this topic. So you need to understand that stress has lot of other consequences or effects. It directly or indirectly is going to affect our both physical and mental health. So suppose if you don't take care of the stress, once it becomes chronic stress. Chronic stress means there is some amount of stress or kind of state of tension all the time for more than at least 2 to 3 months, then that is considered as chronic stress. And this chronic stress leads to a lot of health issues. Like for example, you can have severe gastritis problem, you can have hair loss, you can have acne problem, or if you are a female, then you can have a lot of menstrual irregularities and any kind of endocrine disorders we call. Like for example, if you're having diabetes, if you're having hypertension, so all of these are going to have some effect if you're going through stress. Definitely you cannot control your diabetes or hypertension if you have underlying stress. So directly or indirectly it is going to affect your physical health. Then definitely stress is what we are talking about is definitely the mental stress. So if you are not taking care of it, then it leads to certain mental disorders, most commonly depression, anxiety disorders. And over a period of time, even the stress is a known factor to cause Alzheimer's disease, which means there is something which is a disorder of memory. Okay, so many of the effects you can have if you don't take care of the stress, and it's not related to health. Always remember this, our mental health has got a direct contribution towards our day-to-day life, our relationship, and also what we are all sitting and doing from morning is towards your job, your career. You all want to have that successful life, and you want to earn money, make your life settled. So to have any kind of that contribution towards your work, your passion, or your family, you need to have what is called as very good concentration and good state of mental health. If you are going through stress, if you are not able to control your emotions, ultimately it is going to have a great impact on your relationship and also on your career, because your performance is going to come down. You're not able to perform the way you were performing before, and sometimes because of your own stress, your own emotional problems, you're going to have a lot of issues with your colleagues, your superiors, your inferiors, and sometimes you can have very bad consequences at your job also. And sometimes when you are going through depression, we can take some of the decisions which are not because of our judgment. We lack judgment. Okay, out of emotions we can take decisions like resigning the job, or not taking up a promotion, or just not agreeing to go abroad. Sometimes these decisions are not because you're not capable of doing it. It is just because you are going through stress, or you are just going through depressive episodes. So when you know that stress has got a lot of impact on your life, on your health, then definitely we all must know, irrespective of whichever profession you are, you all must understand how to take care of this stress and how to prevent it from happening. You all know that nowadays we concentrate only on preventive medicine. That means you want to prevent any disease from getting it or acquiring. Like for example, we do a lot of lifestyle changes like exercising, diet control, so that we don't end up in diabetes or hypertension. In the same way, we can even control certain mental disorders like anxiety or depression if you take care of the stress. So what exactly you mean by stress? Stress is any kind of situation or a difficult challenges or problems which are there in your surroundings is considered as, which leads to, that is stressor, and that leads to a lot of changes in your body, that is called as stress. So basically whenever there is a stressor, your body is going to react in certain way, and that is what is called as stress. Like for example, we call it as fight or flight reaction. So whenever there is a threat, whenever there is some danger, our body is definitely going to react in a different way. We can't just sit quiet whenever there is a fire in the room. Suppose there is a snake, then definitely our body is going to react quickly. This is what is called as reaction, and there is lot of hormonal changes happening inside our body and our brain, that is called as cortical. Basically the pituitary gland, adrenal axis are stimulated whenever you go through this kind of stress, and there is lot of stress hormones released in our body, which is at a time of danger, which is normal and it is required. But sometimes what happens, this state of stress is going to continue in our body, in our mind, so that is not good. So stressor means that could be any agent, condition, or event which is causing stress in our body. Like for example, a stressor can be just a physiological stressor like any chemical agents, or for example physical agents, any injuries, any kind of hormonal problems. Like for example, if you get COVID, if you get malaria, dengue, any kind of infection, nutritional imbalance, everything is considered as a stressor, and they are all physiological. And sometimes even psychological stressors are there, like for example any death of a person, financial loss. Suppose you have failed in your exam, or you have become a victim of some rape or some kind of attack, or your family has gone through some natural calamity. Anything that causes acute stress or acute tension in your mind, that is called as a psychological stressor. And also nowadays it's all the newses, the violences, some kind of changes which are happening around the world, that could be related to the nature, politics, anything, or any rapid change in your world, including economics, politics, new rules, new, like for example, ma'am was talking about some finance issues before my session. So anything, all these are considered as psychological stressors. Now, when you consider as there are so many stressors, also this can be divided among internal and external stressors. You need to understand that sometimes the stressor is within our body. That can be some disease, or very importantly, what I am going to talk about today is all about this, is the feelings. Okay, it's all, most of the time our stressor is just our own thoughts, the way we think, our own feelings. So these are all considered as internal stressors. External stressors means something which are external to you, and most of the time, remember one thing, you cannot actually control the external stressors. Something which is happening around you, events, situations, they are all not under our control. The only thing you can do that kind of situation is how you react to that situation, how you react to the stressor. But what we should be more concerned is about our own internal stressor, which is still under our control, and we can actually work on reducing that. So then, coming to talking so much about stress, is stress always bad? Can we not have stress at all? No, it's not like that. Certain situations demand stress. Like for example, you have an interview tomorrow, you need to prepare. If you're not stressed, probably you'll not put your effort and you don't prepare. Like you have an exam tomorrow, we all go through some amount of stress, but that is good only if it within a threshold. So there is always a relationship between stress and the performance. To some extent, whenever you are having stress, your performance is going to increase. That is called a zone of optimum performance. After that, if you are still stressed out, then ultimately your stress is only going to decrease the performance. So how much ever you are stressed out, remember one thing, your whole goal, your whole intention was to do well, was to perform well, but your underlying stress is definitely not going to help you to achieve that. So we need to understand that. So now, after knowing what is a stress, what are stressors, so you need to understand that how to identify. Let me tell you one thing, that whenever there is a physical problem, whenever you are going through some illness, like for example, you have fever, you have appendicitis, any kind of body illness, they are going to give you a sign. They are going to give you pain. There is fever, there is headache, there is back pain. So definitely you understand that I am going through some problem. I need to take help. I need to go to doctor. But whenever it comes to mental illness, most of the people, whether you are educated, illiterate, most of the time you lack awareness about the mental illness. When exactly I need to go to a professional, when exactly I need to understand that I am going through stress. So that is what we all lack. So you need to understand there are certain signs and symptoms of stress or chronic stress. Whenever you have these kind of disturbances, these kind of symptoms consistently for more than a month, remember that. Suppose if I feel sad in the morning and I'm okay by evening, that is not considered as depression. Okay, so once in a while anybody can get irritable, anybody can get anger, that is all considered as normal emotion. But suppose if you're having these kind of symptoms most of the time on most of the days for more than a month, then you need to understand that definitely you're going through stress. So we divide the signs and symptoms into emotional, cognitive, behavioral, and physical symptoms. Like emotional symptoms means, for example, you're having severe mood swings, irritable, agitated, losing control, you're shouting and screaming around people, then you have difficulty in relaxing, and you don't feel good about yourself, low self-esteem. This is what are considered as emotional symptoms. Cognitive symptoms means it is all related to your concentration. Okay, you're not able to concentrate on your work. There is some kind of constant worrying, some kind of thoughts which are always running on the back of your mind. And because you're not able to focus, because you have problem with the concentration and attention, you end up in forgetfulness. And many a times patients come to us saying that I am having problem to remember, I think I'm having memory loss. It's not that. Always remember, like your computer, like any data to register, to store in that system, first thing is registration. So if at all you are not paying attention, if at all you are not having that concentration, then the first step itself is gone. You are just there physically, but you are not paying attention. So later on, you start remembering because you are there physically, but you don't remember, and then you think you are having memory loss. So most of the time, the memory loss is not because of some problem with your brain, it is because of the concentration. Okay, so if you're having that cognitive problem, that can also because of stress, and then behavioral problem, mainly it is your appetite and sleep. Remember, always remember, we all should have a normal sleep pattern of minimum 6 to 8 hours of undisturbed sleep, and we all should have that proper appetite, hunger, and the 3 meals in a day. If suppose you're having any change in your appetite, it can either be increased or decreased. Many a times when you are stressed out, you eat a lot, there is increased hunger, and sometimes even loss of appetite. And sleep, disturbed sleep, or having very less amount of sleep, or waking up early, any kind of sleep disturbance is considered as a symptom of stress. And then finally, physical symptoms, and most of the time patient come to doctors not because of any of this emotional, cognitive, or behavioral problem. They mainly come to us whenever they have this physical problem. So they start having kind of for example, easy fatigability, not able to do their normal work like before, then headache, some kind of gastritis, chest pain, chest irritation, acne, there may be a lot of pains, body pains, and also increased heartbeat, we call it as palpitation. And when it becomes severe, they might end up in severe, what is called as panic attack. And most of the times in our emergency casualties, what we see as heart attack, like people come to us saying, I think I'm having heart attack, I think there is something wrong with me, I think I'm going to die the next moment. So this is what is considered as severe anxiety attack, which we call it as panic attack. So you have profuse sweating, your heart is racing, you are having palpitation, you have breathlessness, you feel that this is the end. Okay, this is very common, and 80% of the patients who come to our casualties, they do not have any heart related problems, their ECG is absolutely normal, and all of them have this anxiety problem. So these are the signs and symptoms which you all should be aware of. Whenever you have any of these symptoms for more than a month, you need to understand that I am going through some kind of stress, and it is the time I need to take help. So this is what signs of burnout, which I already explained, that could be body, insomnia, headache, appetite, irritability. Now, after knowing so much about the signs and symptoms and what all can cause stress, suppose if you don't take care of this stress, I already discussed consequences of stress are very bad, right? So one, I told you, it is related to health. You can have panic attack, you can have anxiety disorder, you can have depression. And you need to know, especially over the last 2 years, since all this COVID pandemic has come, there is enormous increase in the percentage of people suffering with depression, anxiety, and also the suicide death. In just our district, there were 320 deaths because of suicide in the last 1 year, which is not a fact that you all can ignore, or don't consider it as important. So, and also there is increased prevalence of depression, anxiety, and all form of stress disorders because of this recent change. Then you can have this headache, and also there is something called as tension headache, irritability, mood swings, and anger. This is very common. We all look around people, you might see a bus conductor shouting at the passengers, a bank manager or a cashier shouting at the people, or doctor sitting in the OPD shouting at the patient, screaming. And you being a lecturer or wherever working in institutions, sometimes without any reason, without knowing exactly why I'm angry, you might shout or scream at people. Okay, maybe the issue was very small, it is something you can always sit down and talk, but we scream, we lose control, anger. I know sometimes we don't understand what is actually happening inside us, and sometimes the consequence can be a very bad extreme step, which is suicide. And also this is what we always tell, that is failure in the performance. Now anyway, we all have crossed the age where we are actually giving any exams, but that is not one thing. There are many such exams, many such performances we need to give every day. And suppose you have to give a seminar, you need to take class, you need to attend something, but always there is some thing becoming an obstacle, or always there is some kind of decreased performance. You can actually perform better than what you are actually doing right now, but you're not understanding where is the problem. So these are all the consequences of stress. And ultimately we all know that stress can lead to a major health related problems like hypertension, even myocardial infarctions, brain stroke. So every health issue, any health disorder is related to stress. Then if you know so much about stress, if you know, we all know that stress is not good, but whenever it comes to taking help or seeking help from a mental health professionals, there is always some kind of hesitation. We keep going, we keep going and giving this kind of awareness programs. In spite of all that, you need to understand there's something called as treatment gap in our medical terms. So treatment gap means the percentage of patients suffering with illness and actually the persons who are coming to seek help. Means if there are 100% suffering with depression, in that only 30 are coming and taking help. That means the gap is 70%. So you need to know there is a huge treatment gap for mental health illnesses. It's not that mental health illnesses are not there. Okay, the problem is they have mental health problem, but they are not coming to us. And always remember, there are two type of disorders in psychiatry. We call them as common mental disorders, and then we call them as severe mental disorders. Severe mental disorders are those disorders which you typically label them as mad, and what they show in the movies or what you understand by being mad, like they are completely insane, they are roaming around, they are not wearing proper clothes, or they are very aggressive. But this severe mental illness, like for example schizophrenia, bipolar, they are all only 2%. The prevalence is only 2%. But the common mental disorders like depression, anxiety, OCD, they account to almost 98% of total mental disorders. So the severe mental disorders, eventually they come to mental hospitals or our psychiatric hospitals because they become unmanageable at home. Nobody can keep them at home or in the society. So ultimately they will come to hospital or to a mental institution. The problem is those 98% of the huge population which is suffering silently with that common mental disorders, which are depression, anxiety. There is so much of depression and anxiety across the population, but unfortunately they don't come to us, they don't seek help. So then why there is so much of hesitation, why there is so much of gap when it comes to mental health illnesses, is mainly because of three reasons. As we all know, the most common reason is stigma. What if I go to psychiatrist? What if my colleagues come to know? What if somebody comes to know? They will label me as weak, they will label me as mad. So there is so much of stigma against that. The second reason is lack of awareness. As I already told you, sometimes we don't know when exactly to go. What is depression, what is anxiety? Because our emotions are normal. All of us feel sad, all of us cry, all of us smile, all of us get angry. But then when is it considered as abnormal? So lack of awareness is one of the reason. And last is availability of mental health professional or psychiatrists. Even at a taluk levels, okay, there are so many pediatricians, there are so many gynecologists, but you don't see a single psychiatrist at taluk level, even though these illnesses are so much. So the availability of psychiatrists are mainly seen at the metropolitan cities or to some extent at the districts level. So this is one of the reason why people are not reaching. But definitely we need to decrease that and we need to improve. So I already discussed this. And also there is a myth that sometimes we call it as pseudo confidence. Means I can manage, I know I'm strong, I think I can do it. And if I share my problem, if I tell somebody that I am going through stress, I'm not able to handle my work, I think I am going through some stress, then people might think I'm weak. So we have that problem and also stigma. But we need to come over all that and we need to go out and ask for help. So what you all should be doing, first thing, as I already mentioned, evaluate yourself. Always be familiar with the symptoms of burnout or stress. And if you have any of the body, emotional, cognitive problems, then you need to know that I'm going through stress. Then second is use good coping strategies, which I'm going to talk in detail after a while. So what do you mean by coping strategies? See, we all of us as a human being, we all come across problems. Like there is no person in this world who can come and tell I never had any problem in my life. But The problem is not having a problem. It is how are you going to handle it. So this is what called as coping strategy. So whenever you have a problem in front of you, we all adopt our own way of taking care of that. Those coping strategies are sometimes good, but sometimes they are bad. So which are considered as good, which are considered as good, we'll see later. But now you need to always remember, you need to adopt good coping strategies. Then talk to your friends, teachers, colleagues, anybody. Take their help. Do not just bottle up all the feelings. And last is, if you're not able to manage all by yourself, then what is, you need to take a professional help. I told you need to know a little bit more about coping skills. So what are the good coping skills? Like, for example, always have some kind of relaxation techniques and meditation that should be a part of your lifestyle, not just when you have a problem. Like breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, and make time for yourself. There should always be a time which is only for me, myself, that at least half hour to 1 hour in a day, where you are going to do something which gives you a lot of pleasure, happiness. Okay, that must be a part of your life. It doesn't matter, you should never say I don't have time. You can always make time. Then physical activities and exercise. Please remember that nowadays it has become like, sometimes it's like a passion or a trend. Either somebody is overly exercising, or somebody is not at all exercising, or you're exercising just to reduce fat. There is so much of this misconception about physical activities or exercise. No, it's not like that. We are all human beings, and we have many parts in our body. For all of our organs to function well, we all must have some kind of physical activity within a limit, not to an extreme, or not just to build a body, or not to just maintain a lean body. It is for a good health. Whether you are slim, whether you are fat, you all must do physical activities. And this physical activity has got a direct link to our mental health, because whenever you do some physical activity for at least 30 minutes, where you are sweating, your heartbeat is rising, there is something called as happy hormones. We call it as endorphins. These are released in your brain. Okay, that itself is going to make you feel happy and relaxed. So have that. Then hobbies, definitely we all know the importance of that. Whether you are engineer, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, but they have one or the two hobbies which you are good at and which makes you happy. Then humor, talk to people who makes you laugh, or watch certain comedy shows or whatever. Make sure that you laugh at least once or twice in a day. It's not smiling, it is laugh. Okay, then spending quality time with the friends and even the pets. It is a known fact. They have done a lot of research, and they say if you have a pet at home, spending some time with the pet, that could be dog, cat, or whatever, that will give you lot of happiness, that relieves all the stress. Then sleep is very, very, very important. Nowadays, many of the clients, many of our patients come to us with sleep problem. The main reason for having a disturbed sleep is mobile. I don't hate, I also use a lot of phone. We all use phone. It has become a part of our life. But definitely you need to understand something called as sleep hygiene. Okay, there are a lot of things which we need to follow so that you get a good sleep. One is in that, keep away all the phone, at least switch off the Wi-Fi, data, and all that, and keep it away from your bed. You don't have to keep it below your pillow, or keep doing scrolling down, searching all the social media. Definitely that is not advisable, because any of kind of stimulation, okay, to your brain, your reticular system, that gets activated, and definitely you will not sleep. For you to sleep, your brain should calm down, your brain should shut down, right? So you need to do something which is going to relax your mind, not activate your mind. So do not do any kind of accounts or planning or thinking too much about the future or using phone before you go to sleep. Then at least have a dinner 2 hours before your sleep time, not immediately after the dinner. You should not go to sleep. That is one thing. Then do not exercise too much after 6 or 7 p.m. in the evening. That is also not good. You can just take a mild walk if you want. And also have a regular timing of going to sleep. You cannot sleep at 11 o'clock one day, then 9 o'clock. So have a regular time of sleeping and waking up, and keep away all your gadgets, and that's have a good sleep hygiene. Then healthy eating habits. I think you all know now, everybody is conscious about what they eat. Just keep it in mind, keep it very simple. It's not carbohydrate, protein. It's not, nowadays there are like so many fancy things about food, like high protein. Then there is something called, absolutely no fat, zero carbohydrate, or keto diet. It's not that. Healthy diet is eat 3 meals per day which you cook at home, and also about fruits, just eat a local food, that is more than enough. And always remember, never skip breakfast. Many a patient comes to us with severe gastritis or in number of problems related to the GIT, and the one and only sole reason for that is you are skipping your breakfast. The meaning, the word itself says break fast. Break the fast. Whole night you've been fasting, so you need to break it as early as possible. So never ever skip your breakfast, because all that is going to control how we are going to have a mood throughout the day. Then learning to control our emotions, this is the most important thing about coping skill. We all have a statement whenever we are stressed, or whenever I get angry, we usually say, that made me get angry, she made me get angry, you are irritating me, you are making me angry." Always remember, nobody or no situation can you make angry or make any changes in you. It is you, it is all within us. If I learn to control my emotions, if I learn to control my anger or frustrations, I can always be calm whatsoever the situation is. It is not the situation. Okay, like for example, climate. We know we cannot control the weather. So if it is cold, we adapt, we adjust. If it is summer, we adjust. In the same way, we need to understand that you cannot control people around you, you cannot control the situations around you. Life is like that, everything happens. You just have to know how to react. Okay, control those emotions. No need to get excited or get angry, cry. No, whoever is emotionally stable, they are going to be very productive in their work also. So these are all considered as good coping skills. And whenever there is a problem, think practically, don't become emotional. Otherwise, our emotional brain and judgment brain, that thinking brain, are just opposite. Only one works at a time. If you're emotion, that's all, you're just emotional, you are not thinking practically. So you cannot have both at a time. So remember to control your emotions. Then comes, what are the bad coping skill? Most of us do one or the other of these whenever there is a problem, whenever there is a difficult situation. For example, using drugs, any kind of drugs, tobacco, alcohol. It is all shown in the movies. There is a bad influence on all of us. Whenever you are going through some problem, go take a cigarette and smoke. Smoke is going to, if I smoke, I am going to be more productive. If I smoke, my stress is going to get relieved. It is all myth. Remember, it is all just a feeling you have. Alcohol or tobacco is not going to do anything with the stress. Okay, but definitely they have other consequences on your health, and also indirectly alcohol and tobacco are going to only worsen your anxiety. So don't do engaging in self-mutilation or any kind of self-harm behavior, cutting yourself, taking tablets, suicidal threats, harm, that is not going to help you. Escaping from the responsibility, some people have that. Whenever there is a problem, they just run away, they say I can't do it, they want to hide themselves, or they just can't do anything whenever there is a problem. Ignoring or bottling up your feelings. Okay, not actually understanding that you are sad, and then just keeping everything to yourself, dwelling on negative aspects. There are a lot of opportunities, but you're concentrating, focusing only on one, that negative aspect. So, or sometimes over the counter drugs, you just go and take some pill for anxiety or sleep, or sometimes to keep yourself more awake. Do not take any such tablets, because they are all highly dangerous. And working overtime, not taking rest, and being in denial. Also, you have a problem, but you're not accepting that I'm having a problem. So these are all bad coping skills which nobody should adapt. If you are doing any of this, then you need to understand that the problem is within you. You're not seeing the world as you're supposed to see. And stop blaming. We all have this blaming business. I had a bad luck, or I'm always unlucky, or I didn't get a good parents, I didn't get a good spouse, I didn't get a good job, I was good. No, stop blaming. It's just that you are not understanding your own problems, you are not correcting it. And very important, you are not planning the life, and you are not taking proper decisions where you are to take. And if you learn that life is like a mathematics, if you're doing it properly, then definitely there is just 5% of luck, rest all is on our hand. And so now with that, so evaluating ourselves, this, sorry, I think, yeah, then, okay, now good coping skills related to work, we all know that. Remember few things. One is planning. Okay, then time management is very important. We don't do that. And keep assessing yourself. And regarding attitude, you need to know these are few things. Nobody's perfect. Stop comparing yourself. Okay, and very important when it comes to physical look, we need to understand that it is all within us. You need to accept the way you are, and have a good relationship, friendship. And when it comes to lifestyle, I think we all discussed this already. Sleep and doing your hobby, exercise, very very important. Sleep and appetite, healthy diet and active mind, these were some of the good and bad coping skills which I summarized. Now if you have already done all of this, and if you're still not able to come over, if you're still not able to cope, then you need to understand that it's the time that you take help. Talk to someone whom you trust. Remember that also some people have this habit of talking to anybody who come across, sharing all the problem with anybody. That should not happen. You should know whom to talk, with whom you can share, and how much to share. That is also important. And if still it is not helping you, then you need to take professional help. There's few words about professional help. Remember that there is a lot of myths about the psychiatrist and the psychiatric treatment. The most of the people think whenever you go to a psychiatrist, they put on a lot of medications which causes a lot of sedation, you will put on weight, and they are addictive. You need to understand our medications are not addictive, and we don't give medications to whoever to anybody who comes to us. We're going to evaluate and see. If you need, we give simple medicines which are absolutely safe, and there is no addiction or abuse liability. And counseling is something which comes under non-pharmacological. And remember, counseling is not just what your grandma, your father, or your mother does. That is called giving advice. Counseling is a technique. There are a lot of techniques which differs across the disorders. What type of counseling I do to motivate you to quit alcohol is different from what type of counseling I do for a person with depression. So there are different techniques where we are going to do, and it is definitely not advising somebody. So please understand that we just don't talk. There is a method which we follow, and counseling is definitely going to help you. And there is definite big no for some of the things which already I discussed. So never ever get into any of these as a coping skill. Now there are certain general technique of stress management which we all should do. Understand that if you learn few of these, one is to understand that you're going through stress, and then is doing certain things. As we already discussed, laughter, there are a lot of benefits with the laughter. It is going to reduce the blood pressure, keeps your stress hormone under low, and it is going to even boost the immune functions, like what we are all scared of, getting infected with any infection. So even that can be controlled. Okay, and also there is a release of endorphins, which is a body's natural painkiller. So, and also sense of well-being. And hobby, which we all know, meditation. Deep breathing, this is something which you can do wherever you are. Suppose you are sitting in your office, you are just bored, learn about deep breathing exercises. You just have to close your eyes and do certain breathing exercises where you can have to concentrate more of your diaphragm and your abdomen movements. You can go through that. There are a lot of techniques: diaphragmatic breathing, abdominal breathing, belly breathing, many types of breathing exercises which you don't have to go and keep a yoga mat or sit. You can just do it wherever you are. And there is a very important type of relaxation technique also. We call it as progressive muscle relaxation technique, which we usually teach for patients who come with anxiety disorder. And these are all known treatment techniques which are going to definitely decrease all the stress hormones, are going to calm you down. Okay, which you can adopt. So ultimately what my session is all about is, remember, we cannot control the stressors, right? There are stressors in everybody's life, but we can always control how are we going to react, how are we going to keep our emotions under control, and how are you going to keep yourself calm. This is all about stress management, and this is not something which you cannot do it, or you can never say that I don't have any stress in life. So that is what is called as denial. Most of us, we only say that I don't have stress. Stress is not that you should be screaming or shouting. Just some of the changes in your body. Or always ask yourself, is there any change in my behavior which I'm seeing over the last few months? which is not myself. This is not my normal me. If you feel that something is bothering you, there is some change in your behavior, suppose you find it yourself, or your family members are telling you, like, these days you are getting angry, these days you are becoming very irritable, then understand that you need to take help. With that, I am going to end my session, and I wish you all a very happy new year. May this year brings you good health, wealth, and ultimately remember, we all work, we all study, we all make money just to be happy. So find a way to be happy in this stressful world and learn stress management. And this is one strong message which I always believe. Okay, it is that whenever you change your own thoughts and your perception, you can change the way you live. Like, you just have to see, if I have this problem, how most of our patients, they come to us because, not because they're having some problem in their life, it's just because they have problem in the way they're thinking. You just change that, everything will be under control. And take care of your health, and there is no health without mental health, remember that. So thank you for giving all your attention and time. I wind up my session. Over to Suhas. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, as always, your session is very helpful for all of our participants. So thanks again, ma'am. Participants, now we are going to move on to the next session, that is the test. So as ma'am told, so now the stress level will be increased for you because this will be the last test and you have to score minimum of 60%. Yeah, link will be posted in the chat section. Please take it.